Hello guys and welcome to Faeria. My name's Aquablad and I'm going to do a quick guide of what deck you can make on a free-to-play account. Now we've had a lot of new players join ever since the 24-hour free-to-play offer that was done by the team, and it's been fantastic. Loads of you guys are getting involved and we're really happy to have you with us. One of the questions we get a lot on Reddit and on my stream is what deck do you make? Where do you begin? And I kind of did all of this a little earlier on. My main account isn't free to play. I had the full collection straight away, but this account, my alt account, Aquablood, this is what I've used to kind of get an idea of how much time it takes you to craft a viable deck to climb on the ladder. So let's take a look at the deck that I did build. Now, this account has been active for 6 hours. Well, I played on this account for 6 hours, but bear in mind that I made this probably within the 4 to 5 hour mark. So let's take a look. Alright, so green is probably the best colour to start off with if you're new to Faeria. If you're not new to card games, you could probably venture into other territories like yellow and red, but it really depends on how much you want to invest into getting some of these cards, of course. You know what card games are like if you played like Hearthstone and Duelist and other games like that. So let's start off with this green deck. So this is pretty much kind of your standard aggressive green deck. And the reason I've gone aggressive is because it's a little it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. You can fight for board, but you can also kind of turn up the heat if you need to, if you want to push some face damage. And this is based off a list that was made by Lou, I believe, about a month or two ago. So there's probably better variations, but I'll go through some of the other cards you could include in this deck. So let's start things off with the neutrals. So Silent Horsemaster, common card, a 3/2 that gives a friendly creature charge free this turn. Now, if you're unfamiliar with a charge mechanic, it means you can move along multiple tiles, and this gives a friendly creature charge. This is really useful for getting down to the board and then putting on pressure with cards such as Verduran Force, which is a 7/7 6-drop. So this gives you some mobility, which green kind of lacks outside of this card. Mobility is very strong in yellow and blue, but this is a neutral, so this kind of gives a universal mobility to all the colours. Even red, mid-range red or red rush utilize this card as well. Freedom Fighter, another neutral, haste, which allows you to attack and gather Faeria on the turn it's played, and it's a 3/3 for 5. May not seem too crazy, but what makes this card really strong in green is buff cards like Elder Embrace. So you can play this and buff it, and maybe take out a creature, maybe put some pressure on your opponent. Tiki Caretaker, a creature that gives +2/+2 when it's played. Gift is very much like Battle Cry from Hearthstone. But probably the combo you'd like to see the most is Oaklin with Freedom Fighter. Now, Oaklin gives a creature in hand +5/+5. So this could become an 8/8 for 5 Faeria, which is very powerful. And so next up we have Feed the Forest, which is a rare. Destroy a friendly creature to gain Faeria equal to its life and draw a card. So this is a very good way of gaining additional Faeria, cycling through your deck for other cards you might need. Great targets for this include Living Willow, a 1/7 taunt, so the more health the better, but also Thorium Golem as well. This is another one that's pretty good to be targeted. Another way you can utilize this card as well is, say you've killed something on board and your creature has 1 health left and you know it's going to die next turn. You could play Feed the Forest and you could get some cards from it. Let's look at them this way. So Bone Collector is whenever an adjacent creature dies, gain +1/+1. 2 Faeria, so very cheap. A 1/3 can start gathering you Faeria from your wells near your orb. What's really powerful about this card is if you kind of place this safely among a lot of creatures that are going to fight, this card can get out of control really easily. So yeah, this is a great card. Not only to gather Faeria, but some kind of situational power and improvement on this card, depending on positioning. Elderwood Embrace, very simple. Give a creature +2/+4. So just buff up a creature, trade off, or maybe get a 2-for-1. It's pretty nice. Willow we just went through. Taunt 1/7. So this is very good against Yellow Rush, which is a popular deck right now. 7 health is really annoying for Yellow Rush to deal with. A lot of their creatures rely on hitting your orb quickly with low attack, low health creatures to draw cards, but also to power up their other cards in deck. And this card is very good at stopping that. A Tiki Caretaker, much like Elderwood Embrace, but you have a Faeria Gatherer to go with it for free Faeria. It can also buff itself, so if you just need kind of a stable body to fight on board, Tiki Caretaker can do that for you. Ancient Boar, this is a pretty cool card and it's quite cheap. If you control a creature with 5 health or more, costs 2 less. So starts off at 4, but you usually want to play this as a 2 cost. And the 2/5 is pretty good for gaining Faeria or just kind of controlling the board. So Oakland, last words, a random creature in your hand gains +5/+5. So when this guy dies, last words, very similar to Death Rattle in Hearthstone, he will give you +5/+5 to a random card in hand, which we discussed with the Freedom Fighter earlier. But also Feed the Forest, destroy a friendly creature. So these two, Feed the Forest and Oakland, combo very well. And now we're getting to kind of some of the simpler creatures in the deck, but kind of like the bulk and the raw power. Grove Guardian, 5 Faeria, 5/6 with Taunt, costs 3 forests, but you'll be generating a lot of forests anyway. And yeah, this guy's pretty strong stat line for his cost, and can not only put on pressure but can also protect some of your other creatures. Speaking of land cost, 5 forests there for this guy, 5/10. So he will take some time to get down. But, you know, as a 5/10 or potentially a 10/15 if Oakland hits it, this can be an absolute nightmare to deal with. And it can also give you additional Faeria if you need to cycle it with Feed the Forest. And last but not least, we have Verdant Force, which is kind of the main meat of the deck. 7/7 for 6, only 2 forests. A nice aggressive creature, which is a big threat to some decks. So this can be very hard for some decks to get rid of this, or multiples of this. If you look through the rarities of this deck, it's all common cards apart from 3 rares, so 6 rares, 8 rares, 11 rares. So 11 rares altogether, and the rest are commons. And this is a very easy deck to craft. Other things you might want to include is additional Oaklands, additional Bone Collectors, that's always fine. Tiki Piper's not too bad as well, makes Feed the Forest better, you can make it as a Faeria Gatherer, but also gives your creatures a bit more health, so it'll help you fight against, say, aggro a little better. Wood Elemental's another cheap replacement for something, especially if you want to push out additional forests. But also quite a strong body with Taunt as well, so again quite good at dealing with aggro. If you I haven't got all the cards in my collection here, but if you do have quite a few cards in your collection, some other alternatives are Runin's Command. If you're again fighting more aggro, +2/+2, gain 5 life, which is pretty good. If you want to play a slower deck, I really like this card, Spirit of Rebirth, which is only a rare. Whenever a friendly creature dies, a random creature in your hand gains +1/+1. So these guys act as great Faeria Gatherers, which you keep at the bottom end of the board. That deck I showed you is more aggressive, so you can play a little further up, basically above your orb and beyond. But this card kind of feels the strategy of playing kind of in line with your orb. and just keeping these guys gathering Faeria and getting value. Where else? If you have this legendary, this is a great legendary for yellow in general. All creatures in your hand and deck get +1/+1. So if you have been lucky enough to pull this guy, I definitely recommend including him as well. And I guess the last but not least really is Tephra. Again, another legendary. So if you've been fortunate enough to grab this legendary, this is another one you could add to the deck if you want to make it a bit slower. Fly in, charge 2, gift, give a creature +5/+5. So it's pretty awesome. So like green is pretty much the cheapest deck you go for. There is a blue-yellow range deck, but I would only recommend it to seasoned card game players because it takes a lot of understanding of the fundamentals of Faeria, and it could definitely be a deck you could work on next. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to show you a cheap green deck that you guys could get involved with, you know, playing the ladder. Like I said, it took me about 4 to 5 hours to complete this deck, and this was playing a mixture of the solo campaign, battle mode, Pandora, and just disenchanting stuff that wasn't used in competitive decks. And a good way for you to do that, and I'll leave the link in the description below, but Cappuccino, one of the top Pandora and constructed players in the game, has posted a list of decks on Reddit. So one thing I would do, which I've done with other card games when I go free to play, is I go through those competitive decks, and any card that isn't in those competitive decks I disenchant just to make cards that I need from the decks I want to build. So yeah, thank you very much for checking this video out, guys. I hope it helps you. Be sure to check out playfaeria.com, which is the website I'm a part of and create all my content for. And of course, check out my Twitch, which I'll be streaming every day, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from 1 p.m. Central European time, and also on Sunday for the Play Faeria Open, which starts at 6 p.m. Central European summertime, which is an open cup that has no strict competitive rules, just a bit of fun. And if you'd like to get involved in that, go to signup.playfaeria.com. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Hope to see you on my stream, and I hope you enjoy Faeria.